Hello, everybody. It's Liam or KnightysKnight Caster-Producer-Player here. I'm back with another episode of the podcast. Today, we've got someone really awesome to talk with you. We have Alex or KnightysKnight. He's a Halo commentator and the executive producer for LVT Productions. I've been absolutely in love with the work that has been going on over there with the $2 Tuesdays and all of the different series that you guys have been doing. The production quality is awesome, and I love seeing all the highlights and everything come out. So it's going to be great to chat to you, get a little bit of a background of where you came from and your gaming and how you got to where you are now. But is there anything I missed there? Anything else people should know about you?
Liam, I think you did great. Just two things. I loved what you said, $2 Tuesday, but we've got $1,000 prize pools up. It's Money Tuesday.
Money.
But I like your spin on it. $2 Tuesday. Maybe we might make that a thing.
I think it's just so used to seeing the $2 twos or twos,
Yeah, no, I get it.
But yeah, no, the Money Tuesdays, $1,000 prize pool. Yeah, all of that's been fantastic to watch. I think, a good place to kind of start generally when we're talking is just as you as a gamer. Like, have you always played games?
Yeah, I mean, my dad was pretty much the supporter of it from when I was 3 years old. My grandparents bought me a Nintendo. We played Mario. We played the Terminator game. We played everything together, and we would take turns, and we just had a blast. I got really competitive with it, just naturally, I guess. And I wanted to beat my dad. I wanted to be better than my dad. And that's where it all started to come together. And then I'd go over to my cousin's house and we'd play Mortal Kombat, and I'd want to be better than my cousins. And I could never be better because they were like 5 years older than me and they were whooping my butt. And just that competitive nature came out at such a young age. It was like, I competed in soccer, I competed in basketball, football, but that never really came out in those sports. It was always about video games for me, where that competitive drive came out. So yeah, ever since I can remember, my earliest memories.
Yeah, I think that so many people that we've done this podcast with, their first gaming memories were all kind of from that same generation of like the Nintendo era. And it's a lot of the Terminator, a lot of GoldenEye, a lot of Mario, a lot of Pokemon.
So you've had a lot of old men on here,
and women, and some very very talented women as well that are in that same boat of growing up. And I think that shows a lot though of what the generation to come will be like. Growing up with games like Fortnite and Call of Duty, and all these like Warzone style games, the battle royales and everything like that. So, but we come from that special generation, of growing up with Mario and Pokemon and
no internet.
These fun games. But so what was the first game that you started playing that was like actually super competitive? Do you remember?
Oh, man. I mean, I guess it would be Mortal Kombat, but I didn't really take it serious. The first one that I actually did take serious was Halo, because it was a big thing with my group of friends. We all had Xboxes during Christmas. We all got them. And then we would get off the bus in I think it was 7th or 8th grade. And so we would go over to my house. I was like the one house everybody got together at. My mom would make us snacks and food, and then it would be like 8 of us, 4 guys in one room, 4 guys in the other. Sometimes we'd have even more. It was just a madhouse, just a ton of guys, and we would get sweaty, man. We would be playing some really wacky game types. It's nothing like it is today where it's pistol start or whatever. We were playing Halo 1 with plasma pistol start, with being on Blood Gulch. And whoever picked up the sniper would just dominate because they couldn't be contested, right? It was just, we did some wacky things, but I always wanted to be the best. I wanted to be my neighborhood hero, right? And once I reached that level of neighborhood hero, I wanted to go on and play against better people in my city, than my entire state. I wanted to become the best in my state. And then that's when I started going to MLGs for Halo 2 and Halo 3. But yeah, Halo 1 just started something, that just being in a friend group and having that rivalry with some of your closest friends, and it just building off of that.
Yeah. So you're lucky you had to come in straight off Halo 1, straight at the start of it.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you played the first Halo?
I was 13.
13. Oh, that's really awesome. I didn't play I got in at Halo 3, and it was like the back end of Halo 3, just before Reach came out.
Okay.
And I am so jealous of hearing about the nostalgia of Halo 1 and Halo 2.
Oh man.
Halo 2, I hear some really fantastic things about as well, but I'd love to have seen the journey that it kind of went on to get to that point.
Yeah, from my point of view, as a from the beginning to the end type guy, like I've started from the very beginning with local LANs and playing on XBC online, and then going through Halo 2 and seeing how wonderful the online was with that and how it improved. And then seeing all the additions that Halo 3 brought with the theater mode and everything, and how it created this massive, massive scene at MLG. I couldn't imagine missing all of that and coming in at the end and where like Reach just started. That would really, I can't imagine, man. I'm sorry that you had to miss it.
No, it's okay. I think if anything, like I'm the type of person that I get very passionate about things that I enjoy very quickly. And the whole time that I wasn't playing computer games, I was swimming and traveling, and I had a lot of things going on, and I probably wouldn't have been as passionate about it. And Halo 3 came into my life at the perfect time where I wasn't swimming and competing, so I had something to replace that competitiveness. Yes. And that's why I kind of fell in love with it, because the ranking system in Halo 3, I absolutely loved that grind of trying to get to 50. And once I got there, it was trying to get to 50 in the least amount of games as possible, and
yes, sir.
With the cleanest record and just all that type of stuff, and I absolutely loved it. But if I had just had that little bit more time, I think in Halo 2 and everything, I would have been more in line to chase the competitive scene as well. Because I think it was like 18 or 19, when I first kind of got into it. But how old were you when you went to your first LAN?
I gotta tell you, man, it's never too late. If you want to get involved, if you want to start competing, online's where it's at now. You just sign up and get in there with some friends. I mean,
I think my ship for that has sailed, but I love the idea, and that's one of the things that we're doing with Divine Mind. Is I love the idea of giving a whole heap of kids a better opportunity to chase that dream than what I had. So that's kind of where my energy goes into with Divine Mind, is taking any of these kids that come in and, maybe they're just hesitant and they don't have enough guidance and they don't have that voice in their ear saying, you should go for it. You're young. Like right now, just go for it, because there are so many people that are in my age group that want it. But the kids that have got the best opportunity are the guys that are 15 and under 20 that are playing at a really high level already that can get there, So...
I'm being in my journey as a competitor, I realized that yes, youth has its advantages. You have a lot more time, your reaction speeds, your thumbs just work better. But if you stay in a really healthy state of mind, like if your attitude is good and you are really adamant about your practice and your time management, if you make sure that you have quality over quantity, right? You're not spending all of your hours on the game, you're just spending the right hours on the game. And I think older people, you see them all the time, like Quake. I believe the world champion is 33, 34. A lot of fighters, you see guys winning majors that are around that age in the mid 30s. So I don't think it's ever truly over. You can always get that itch scratched if you want it. You see a lot of older guys in Halo right now doing it extremely well. The guys in their 30s and stuff. So, I just think if somebody wants it enough, that they can have it. If you just want to experience it, it's so accessible nowadays. It was not that accessible back in the day in Halo 2 and Halo 3. We didn't do game battles. We didn't do we didn't have a ladder for Halo 3 until 2008.
Yeah.
And so like before that, it was all about LANs, and we didn't really get to have matches online like we do nowadays. So it's actually a blessing that we have all these tournaments online. People forget about all of that. They forget about how like Halo wasn't as accessible as it is today.
Definitely. And I think, it's one of those things that makes me super excited for what's going to happen in Halo Infinite. Halo Infinite is just going to be the game that we all want it to be and what everyone deserves it to be. And we've got this great foundation of competitiveness they're in the different events that are going on and the different tournament organizers that are wanting to put things on. And, you know,
Exactly.
so it's an exciting time to be a Halo fan. We just can't see it because it's been so long. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's some jaded fans out there, and you know, there's reasons for it, but at the same time, you've got to look at the facts. You got to look at the growth since Bungie left Halo and 343's taken it up. You know, they've made their mistakes, but they've been improving. You can see improvement throughout the years. You can see that we didn't have international Halo. We didn't have Australian leagues. We didn't have Asian leagues. We didn't have European leagues before 343 and HCS. You know, that just wasn't a thing. It was just all about, you know, North America. It was all about America and having events at, you know, the MLGs in New York and Atlanta and Chicago. You know, that was where you had to go, you know. World Cyber Games did have their international Halo stint, and there were some major guys in Europe making some big things happen. I'm sure you guys had a ton of stuff as well. I was always trying to look at those international Halo tournaments, but now it's like, I mean, it's way more active. There's much more involvement internationally Halo-wise, and that's growing and growing and growing and getting bigger because of people like yourself and people like Europa, and it's becoming a lot more accessible internationally, which is huge.
Yeah, definitely. Which is a good place to be. And speaking of LANs, for yourself, when was the first time that you got to a LAN? Were you competing, or were you just going to kind of watch?
Oh no, I went to a local Halo 2 tournament, and I couldn't get a team back in 2005, and I just watched. I wanted to coach, but I didn't feel confident enough in my ability to coach. I'd never done it before, so I just watched, and it was agonizing. It was the worst experience of my life, just sitting at that tournament, just watching all of these competitors, knowing that I was better than 99% of them. Like I could have done so much at that event. It was amazing. There was hundreds of people there. It was incredible. And then I swore to myself, that's never going to happen again. So I made sure to get a team for my first MLG at Charlotte 2007. It was the opener, and it was massive. It was so many good people were there. The open bracket free-for-all was just littered with professionals because you only get seeded at the top 16. The rest of the professionals have to play through open. So I was playing next to guys like that were playing in the top 4, you know, like Gandhi was in there, T Squared was in there. Like some of the biggest names in Halo were down in the open bracket free-for-all. And I'm playing against them as this, like, you know, guy that's been watching these pros forever, and I was killing it. Like I was doing really, really well. I made it all the way to full screen, which was a big deal back then because everybody played on split screen, and you hated it because it's not how you practice. And then I got to full screen, and I made it 2-3 rounds, and I was so like proud of myself that I was able to compete at that level. And that's just where it started. All from there was that free for all event at MLG. I can still just remember every single second of that day. It was one of the best moments. I loved it.
So can I just get you to clarify, because that just blew me away. You're playing free for all competition, and people are playing on split screen.
Yes.
So you've got like what, 4 people on one monitor?
It's just two.
So you've got 2 people on one monitor playing a competitive MLG free for all.
Yes, sir. You got screen watched hard. Like, and there were screens right to the right and right to the left, so you could look at everybody's screen at once, and you knew exactly where everybody was. So screen watching and making sure you knew where everybody was, it was like a skill. Like it was a big skill, and it's a skill in 4v4 as well. It's if you watch your teammates' screens, you know exactly when to pop out so that you can get a team shot on somebody more effectively. And so we already were coming with that skill from our 4v4 experience, so why not use it in the free-for-all? And yeah, some of the best free-for-all players in the world were major screen watchers. So that's a little tidbit a lot of people don't know.
I really don't. And like I've been really involved in the Halo scene now for quite a while, and that's not something that I've heard anyone ever talk about before. So I think that's going to be great for a whole heap of the young guys. Like I just don't think they could possibly imagine that they get all the way to an event, they sit down at the TV or the monitor, they turn it on, and then the dude sits down next to them to play on the same one. Like You know, like that it just blows me away that was a thing.
Yeah, you basically can whisper to your opponent and be like, "Man, I just out BR'd you right there. Yeah, did you like that?
You're choking. You're choking. Yeah.
Yeah, you're choking."
Yeah. So okay, so you go from that being your first LAN in about 2007, I think you said.
Yes, sir.
And then what was the most successful LAN that you had? Was it like a placing wise, or was it just like an achievement you beat a specific team or something like that?
Oh man, I've got endless stories of satisfactory beatings that I was able to put down. Like I never placed within like the top 16 at the majors. I was always, just one round away. But I beat pros, like a lot of pros that would get into the pro bracket and they'd create these kind of mishmash last second teams. They just weren't prepared. And if you're coming out hot from the open bracket, you have all that momentum and you're able to beat some really good players. And so a lot of the times those matches would feel really good. But I think the best matchups I ever had were like players that had dropped me like the night before. So I was forced to find a last second team at the event. And then I would play that team that I got dropped off of and beat them.
Yeah. That
was one of the best experiences because, you're just right there face to face and it's like, this is awkward.
It's all good for them. Good for you. That's awesome. So, okay. That was, so you got 2007, then you start going to a few more. How many LANs were you going to a year, do you think, after that?
Oh, per year?
Yeah, like what was the usual?
Oh man, well, I wasn't super like dedicated to going to every event, which it was necessary if you wanted to be a career professional. It was pretty much all out of my pocket. I was working full time straight out of high school to afford plane tickets and hotels and car rides, trying to do everything I could to go to every event, but I'd have to miss a lot so I could save up some money. Eventually, I was getting sponsorships when I got a lot of success. That was a mistake. You don't want to get sponsorships because what you did was you get sponsored by one player. A player would say, "Hey, team with me, and I'll pay for your pass, your hotel, your plane ticket," and you're like, "Hey, okay, well that sounds great." But, this player isn't going to be up to par. He's not going to be at your level, and he's usually going to let you down when it comes to the big matches, and that's usually what happens. So I don't recommend that at all to people that want to take it all the way. If you want to be the best in the world, make sure that you really plan it out well. You get an organization to back you, not a player. But anyways, off topic, I had to make sure that I was working my butt off to be able to afford to go to these events. So I'd say like 3, 4, or 5 around that.
Yeah.
I think one year in 2009, I went to like all of them, because like I said, I had the sponsors. So, I mean, I tried to go to as many as possible, but like I said, it was difficult. It's expensive. Yeah.
Well, at what point through going to all of those comps were you thinking, okay, I want to be involved? Like, this is something that I want to try and do, like as a career, something that I want to be involved with, like more full time. When did that thought start creeping in?
I think that was always what I wanted from the start, is that I knew that I wanted to be like the guys that I was watching on television, because, they had the USA Network MLG show back in 2006, 2007. And, I wanted to be like the ogres. I wanted to be like Walshy. I wanted to be at the top like that. And so that's what I strived for at all times. I wanted to be the best I could be. I just didn't play the politics game. I wasn't a businessman. I wasn't, all I had on my mind was play as much as possible and get as good as possible individually. I didn't worry about my networking to get on the right teams. So I always had that in my mind was, hey, I want to take this serious and I want to go as far as I could. I just made a lot of mistakes and I had no, I guess, mentor. I didn't have anybody to like say, hey, this is what you're doing wrong. I was really hard headed. So, it's just one of those things like I learned. So eventually I got to the point where I was like, okay, this is definitely something that I want to be around for the rest of my life. It's just not doable to make this like something that I never stop at, where I'm just gaming nonstop. There was just so much more that I wanted to do in the space. Like I have a lot of strengths on my own that I wanted to to use towards esports. And one of them was public speaking. I'm a really good public speaker. I've always had that ability ever since I was really young. I was always like in plays and, you know, singing and performing, and it just came very natural to me not to have any type of fear when it came to being on camera.
Yeah. Well, that's an awesome thing to kind of get out of it anyway. And I think, you know, this is one of the things that I say to a lot of the guys in Divine Mind, but also I say to every single player in the Australian Halo community, is that like right now they've got a much better opportunity than people like yourself back then, because back then, if you just were to play, it's going to be very hard for something to happen. You have to play the politics game a little bit. You've got to try and network. You've got to try and get your kind of foot in the door in the right places to get you to that next place, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas right now, we have things like Twitch and Instagram and Twitter and YouTube and all of these things that people can be using to make a brand for themselves, where they don't even really need to be doing the networking. They just need to build that brand, and other people will slowly start to kind of catch on and be like, oh, I can see what that person's doing, and I like the way that they you know, represent themselves. And that confidence and that public speaking that you had, if you had have had that opportunity, you know, 10 years ago to be able to do all of those things, you know, could have been a different story. So I always encourage the younger guys now to make sure that they're starting to think about that brand, and try to think about how they're like behaving when they're on stream, and the things that they're saying and the things that they're doing. So it's creating that of professional persona around them, so that,
yes, sir,
you know, while they're 15 now or 20 now, do you want to still be playing games and trying to do this when you're 25?
Right.
If that's the case, right now, the actions that you're making are really going to decide what's going to happen there. So yeah. I think that's really good insight as well, because, you know, just playing back then was so hard. But now just playing means that you can be streaming. You can be putting up YouTube videos constantly. Yeah. You can be adding clips to Instagram, you know. So it's a big change in times. But if you could give yourself a bit of feedback, or like a one message like from back then, and say, hey, you should do this differently, or don't do this, what do you reckon would be the big takeaway you'd give yourself back then?
Yeah, I think everybody pretty much says this to themselves, and it's exactly what you just said. It's focus on the content you're creating and building your brand in any way possible. You know, getting a camera, walking around with a camera, getting a microphone, you know, logging what you're doing, you know, just doing whatever you can to put yourself out there, because there was a lot of times where I noticed that my gameplay in Halo 3 would get featured, and that opened the door for a lot more opportunity than ever before. I didn't go to an event, do very well, and immediately get notoriety. That's just not the way it worked. Nobody knew your name. Nobody knew what you'd accomplished. It was all very, you know, you had to make your moves and shake the right hands. But once you got featured and had that video of your talents up on, because I think it was called the Game Room on MLG's website, and I had this big gameplay on Narrow Slayer against Gunshot, Eli, I think Snipe Down was in it, and I just went off. Like, I had a great game, and everybody's witnessed my ability. And that's when people started to hit me up, and they were like, oh yeah, blah, blah, blah. So nowadays, just like you said, everybody can witness your ability firsthand. We have observer mode in Halo 5. We can stay on your screen if you're hot and show you off to the world. That was just not a thing back then. It was actually very cool when you got to go on main stage during warm-ups at MLG, because you were actually on stream. They just left it up during warm-ups, and you could be like, hey mom, and it's like, you know, you could also get up there during the earlier rounds too. They had the amateur early rounds, and so it was always a privilege to get up there, and you know, people got to see your face. You got to get pictures of you up on main stage, and that just, you know, that really promoted yourself and promoted your ability as a player. So if I had to tell myself anything, it was exactly that. Make sure that you focus on your brand and selling yourself to the league, you know, saying, hey, other players, this is what I'm capable of. Let's team, let's get better together. I have the drive, you have the drive, you know. It's like making sure the world knows who you are.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's a really good point as well, is if you can possibly find 3 other people on the same page doing the same thing, then everybody's going to kind of grow together. And I think, yeah, so that's a really good point, is being able to do that. So that's awesome for any of the young guys listening. Hopefully you can learn a bit from that and really put the effort in, because you've got such an amazing opportunity to put that effort in now before Halo Infinite comes out. And then when the population and the eyes and the attention going on to Halo Infinite is huge, you've got a much bigger chance of more people finding you. So I think that's some really great knowledge dropped right there, which is great. Let's move forward a little bit as well. So you had the public speaking side of things that you felt really confident with. You wanted to kind of try and use that. So you naturally thought maybe the casting side of things would be the direction that you'd go?
No, generally everyone was trying their hand at YouTube. You know, Nade Shot was massive in Call of Duty around that time. We were seeing that a lot of people were starting to get noticed in other games. You know, like PewDiePie was starting to put out stuff. And I just wanted to jump on that wagon. I wanted to make commentaries over my gameplay. So I got a bunch of theater games that I had, you know, stored away in the archives, and I started talking over them and putting them up on my YouTube. And that's where I got the practice, you know. And I never really thought about becoming a live commentator or caster until one of my buddies, Proverb. He's like a big deal as a tournament organizer, producer. He now works full time as a lead producer at High Res Studios for Smite and Paladins. But he at one point was a competitor, and then his younger brother became just a total genius at the production side. Like, he was just gung ho at like age 12. He knew that he wanted to be a producer. And now he's the executive producer at Skillshot Media, and he's just killing it. He's just unbelievable. And so these guys were having a LAN, and I went to their LAN, and they had the whole setup. They had the whole shebang. They had lights. They had, you know, the cameras. They had everything that you needed. They had really expensive microphones, and they were just letting people just try it out and just get up on their little desk and see what they could do. And I guess they were holding tryouts because they had everybody at the LAN up on there. And when I got up there, I just felt like I was at home. Like, I just, Austin, it was Dylan and Austin. Dylan is Proverb 1 and Austin is Proverb 2. And, or maybe I got that backwards, but sorry guys. But they just were so gung-ho about it, and they did such a good job at setting everything up and making it seem easy for me. They coached me, and they turned me into a host/caster. I was doing like a ton of work with them. They had me go up to UGC, and I did a bunch of UGC events, and I just got tons of practice working alongside, you know, Elamite Warrior, T-Squared, Golden Boy, Walshy. I got to meet some of my childhood heroes, and it was one of the most amazing experiences. It wasn't something I had planned for. I fell into it. I got super lucky, and I've been running with it ever since. I've been so hooked on this side of the camera. It's like I never want to go back to being a player ever again, because it's just so much more fun to create and to, you know, tell stories. Yeah, man, and what a journey. So those guys kind of helped give you that first platform to get involved, see what it was like. Was there an event that you remember being like your first event where you were kind of hosting, casting, that, you know, you felt like you'd hit a stride by that point? Well, I was an interviewer at my first live event, which was Chattanooga 2050 events. I got to interview some players, Ryan Noob, Boo Boo Doo Boo. That was a ton of fun. I definitely felt like I was in my element as an interviewer. But then I interviewed, I think it was Renegade when he was like 16. Yeah. And there was this moment where I was just like super nervous because he wasn't giving me like straight answers. Like, he was, you know, he didn't know any better. He was just kind of out of it, and he forgot what I had asked, and I had to re-ask it. And it's like, it was this big meme on Twitter for a long time because I just made a fool of myself. So the thing about it is that you're always going to mess up when you're learning something new. And you never really feel good about it, honestly. Like, you're always improving. And yeah, I guess there were certain events where, like, I looked back on it and I was like, wow, I did a really awesome job right there. Or maybe I heard it from someone else. Somebody else told me that usually doesn't give out compliments. Like, I think it was Austin, Proverb One, who was the producer at the time. He said, I was really shocked at how well you hosted this entire event. And coming from him, that was just such a huge thing to hear, because he never said anything good to me. Like, it was always very much, criticizing, this, criticizing that, making sure that I was improving. He was always big about making sure I was getting better. But once he said that, it was like that affirmation I needed, that I was in the right place, that I was doing the right thing, that I felt comfortable in this element, being an interviewer, being a host. And I think also when I worked at UMG Daytona and I got invited by Golden Boy, he was really hyping me up and gassing me up as well, and was very excited about my abilities on the desk, and was saying, man, you blah, 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 you got a future in this. And just along the way, people telling you that and giving those good words to you just feels really good. But you never feel that way, honestly. Like, I don't think I've ever come off of a cast or a show and been like, wow, I really dominated that performance. I did amazing. I couldn't have done any better. I've never had that feeling. But going back and watching those videos, I didn't do as bad as I had thought. It's a very weird feeling about being on camera, and it's like, I guess it's something that I take so seriously that I always feel like I could have done better.
Yeah. Sounds like you're pretty self-critical as well. You probably have that inbuilt in you to kind of want to be improving all the time. Because I think a lot of the time that's a really good attitude to have, and it does generally mean that you're going to keep taking steps forward and progressing up the ranks, or improving a skill set, or becoming more confident, or something like that. So that's a really good attitude to have, I think. And so take me through from that point where you'd been starting to cast, you had some people like Wonder Boy that were kind of hyping you up, making you feel like you're in a really good spot. How do we get from then till now? When did you get to the point where, you were starting to do more stuff on Twitch and that type of thing as well?
Well, I had met Louis V. Titan. He had a show he wanted me to cast with him. So me and him casted his own show that he put on Facebook, and I thought that was cool. Like, I could tell right away this guy was a professional and he wanted to do big things in the scene, and he was just looking for his in, and where he wanted to do it was with 1v1s in Halo 5 on forged maps. And these forged maps were so good. They were community forged maps for 1v1, and a lot of the players were big time players. Like, we had Pyretic and a lot of good 1v1 players. I think Gold Star BR was on there, and just a ton of really talented amateurs. And I just had a blast casting with him, and I saw that he was observing, and he was directing, and he was producing, and he was casting, and I was like, how is he doing all of this by himself? I mean, he just blew me away with his professionalism. And then I learned that he'd been working in TV for 8 years as a professional technical director. So that immediately was like, okay, I got to work more with this guy. He knows exactly what he wants. And so we started working together more and more with his buddies who were making a thing called Blam Gaming. And then we started working more and more, and we were covering the HCS H2A tournaments that started for during the pandemic, and we were covering those with Tools, and then Tools hopped on board, and we became like a little trio, and then Tools grabbed Snow, and then we became a 4-man team, and we decided to call it LVT Productions. Then we grabbed some more community members that were really serious, and they helped us with socials like EU Rach. And then Frag Out has been huge with us, and so we just started grabbing more and more people, and it's become like this. It's his company. It's Louis V. Titan's company, and I've invested as much as I can into helping it become bigger and bigger. Then he created this Money Tuesday show that has just blown up, and it's been my real focus for the past few months. It's just been incredible how much it's grown, and how the community has reacted towards it. Everybody loves it, and it's just been so much fun to be able to to put my experiences into it. I've learned so much working with some of these guys in the space that have been doing just incredible things, and that now they're going on to work for AAA developers, and they've all moved on from Halo. So now I can use all of that knowledge and spread it to the rest of the community. And it's just felt really good to be able to put on these types of shows. But it just all started with, making the right connections and I guess being as critical as I am of myself, I'm critical of other people as well. So I kind of take a coaching role, and I think it's kind of like, it's weird. Like I want to improve the entire scene, right? I want to make sure that everybody is getting better. I know sometimes that rubs people the wrong way, but it's something I'm really passionate about. Halo esports has been so good to me my entire life. We're going on 20 years this being a thing, and that is a massive part of my life that I wouldn't give up for the world. Yeah.
And so I've got a few questions from that. The first one is, you mentioned maybe rubbing a few people up the wrong way. What do you think? What is that about? What is that? Other people being critical of the way that you're doing things, or is that what happens with that?
I like to speak my mind a lot. Like if there's something that's a problem that I've witnessed in the past on a production, I'm not going to hold back from trying to make it better. I want every show that Halo puts on to be the best it can be. I want individuals to be the best they can be. So anybody that's working anything, if they're doing ref work, admin work online, or if they're working at the event, I'm going to make sure that, first of all, I'm improving and I'm taking what I can from the job, because that's what I've been doing for the past 2 or 3 years, has been working every single spot a production can have. I've done graphics, I've done observing, I've done admin, refereeing, I've done tournament organizing. I've worn every single hat you could possibly have. And except being a director. Being a director is hard as hell. And I have so much respect for directors, because that is just a nightmare when things start to go wrong. But I just don't hold back when it comes to trying to improve in myself and improve the people around me.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So, and I can see, especially in this industry, there's a lot of people that don't have great self-awareness. So I can see them getting frustrated with people trying to give them a bit more direction and everything. So that makes a lot of sense. Can you run me through what goes into behind the scenes of some of these productions that you guys are doing with LVT Productions?
Yeah. Well, so a lot of it I'm under NDA, so I can't talk about most of it. But basically, we've worked on massive shows so far. We did Gamers for Giving, Gamers Outreach with United Studios, and that was a Valorant event. And then we also did a Final Mouse reveal, which was massive. It had there was a $200,000 grand prize for the winners. We had a bunch of huge people like Booga and Tfue, and a bunch of Valorant professionals, Overwatch pros, and that was a lot of fun to put on. And now we're going and continuing that with Rocker. Rocker is an organization with Call of Duty, and Louis V. Titan's very much involved with them. And so he brings a lot of work to the company for that. And then obviously we've got Money Tuesday. And so a lot of just shows and jobs are coming through the door, and we're taking them all on. We've got a lot of plans, and a lot of things are looking good for the rest of the year. Cool.
And if you can say, when these things are getting organized, is there a process that you're following that's okay, we've got to make sure that we've got, this amount of social that's going out for it? How long before the event starts does planning take place? How long is who does the graphics? How long does it take to get the graphics done? Who puts them, I want to know that kind of gritty stuff. What goes into it behind the scenes, if you're allowed to say?
Yeah, we have meetings as much as possible. We're always talking about the future, talking about the new jobs that we're getting in. Currently, we have an Australian show coming up, Global Australian Halo 4 event hosted by Monza. Monza LVT Productions, and I'll be adminning that with Frag Out, and we'll be putting on that for her. And congratulations to her for being a grassroots partner now. So that's going to be exciting. So that's kind of the behind the scenes part. Is like we're working with a lot of big community members, and we're trying to, up their platform. So like Hydra Gaming, they came to us and they were like, "Hey, we really want to put on this show." And we were like, "Say less, let's put on the show for Hydra Gaming." And it was our biggest show at that time. Like we had so many viewers. It helped us grow. It helped Hydra grow. A lot of the competitors got to show off their abilities. Audi and Command Station just did amazing. And that's kind of what Louis V. Titan wants. He wants to really prop up a lot of the community members like Tools, who didn't really have much of a platform until now, and he's really gotten to show off his casting abilities. Propping up people that can admin. We've gotten a lot of people in our company that are able to do different things, and we teach them everything they need to know to be better professionals in the space. And it's just, we get into a meeting, we say, "Hey, this is what we're going to do for the next week. We're going to make sure we get a social out today and make this graphic." Tools makes great graphics. He makes the thumbnails for our YouTube. He does a lot of that work. We also hired Louis Superboy to edit for our videos as well, and to put out the intros. But if the huge linchpin in the entire thing is obviously going to be Louis V. Titan. Louis V. Titan does a lot of the graphics. He does pretty much everything and plans it all out. So we just kind of follow his lead and make sure to just fall in where we need to. Mr. Snow, he does a lot of the programming as far as the statistics are concerned, that they fall into the graphics and then he throws them up. And it's a really, I wouldn't say well-oiled machine, but we're getting there. We're getting to the point where it's just like a constant thing that we want to have weekly. Our Money Tuesday is a big deal, and we just want to keep improving on our shows. We are right now doing it every other week, but we want to make it a weekly thing and maybe possibly even grow more. But the behind the scenes has been just like sometimes we'll butt heads, like as far as like creative thinking is going. Like we have a bunch of ideas going back and forth, and we're just always talking about what can we do better, how can we improve. And it's an exciting time, really, because there's a lot that we can do right now in Halo that hasn't been done before. That you witness it from other esports like League of Legends and Counter-Strike, Overwatch, and it's like we really need to bring a lot of what they're doing into our space to help us grow. And so that's kind of what we're doing. We're looking at what has worked in the past, what hasn't worked. And we're just taking it all together, and Louis V. Titan's making it his own. Yeah,
awesome. Okay, cool. So there's a lot of work and a lot of different cogs in motion that kind of keep that going, which is awesome. Because I think when you're watching it, there's so much going on, and there's never really any downtime. That I was always thinking, like, who is just juggling all these balls in the background, making sure that the hard part, someone like you, is that's all happening, and you're narrating it and you're talking about what's going on. So does it ever get hard for you to kind of keep up with all of the things that are
it is a task. It is a task, and it is something that I never want to leave. Honestly, it's just so much fun. Like it's difficult and it's stressful and the nerves get to you. But when you're in that Discord channel and you're all talking in the Discord chat, and you're like, okay, this is what needs to happen now. Okay, what's the next match? Where do we want to go? Do we want to do a picture-in-picture and show this Game 5 that's at a 49-49 stalemate while we're watching this one? Or do we want to switch? There's all these different options that we have. Obviously, Louis makes that a reality with his just lightning-fast decision-making, and, he's just really good at it. And that really enables me, Mr. Snow, and Tools to make those decisions on the fly, because we understand what Halo needs to be and the story that the community wants to hear, and we put it in motion.
Okay, this is a little bit off topic, but I've been kind of wanting to ask this to as many people as I can. You get to watch a lot of really fantastic players. Are there any people that have got kind of your main interest at the moment, as far as like up and coming players that you think everyone should be keeping their eyes on going into Halo Infinite?
Yeah, I mean, the list is absolutely it's massive. I have a lot of people that I've witnessed that have have the potential, but it's all about where they take it, right? It's just like we talked about with my career. It's like, what are the decisions they're going to make? How are they going to network themselves? But as far as ability is concerned, like, I'm just very, very impressed with a lot of these Money Twos guys. Like Vimsy, we saw him just being super confident against some of the best players in the world, teaming with Frosty and really performing under that amount of pressure. That was, got to give a lot of hats off to him. Like he definitely looks exciting. They call him the fastest point of view, which is fun. Obviously having the big wigs gone right now, like Shotzi, Neptune, Frosty took a little hiatus. It's leaving a lot of room for a lot of these young guns to come up. I know that there's a lot of drama around that scene, and it's pretty hostile sometimes. A lot of the crap talk can get pretty crazy and out of hand. That's what we got moderators for in our chat. Like a lot of the times I got to take over in our chat and just keep it down, because it gets crazy. But
is that with the like amateur players?
I'd say all the players get a little rowdy. You hear the smack talk. It's like, you never really hear the mic'd up field in a basketball or, on the court. You don't ever hear it in a football game. Like there are listen-ins every now and then, and they'll do it like post-production, but it's never live. And that is for a good reason, because it is tough. We have our live listen-ins on Money Tuesday, and we've gotten some crazy things out of it. Renegade had some choice words in our big matchup that we just had, and it's fun, like as long as it's not taken too far, we try to keep it at a healthy level. But yeah, there's a lot of drama around that. A lot of people take it out of context sometimes, and they'll say, oh well, they shouldn't teabag. Teabagging is wrong, and I've never seen the problem with it. It's always been a part of the culture about esports and gaming, but we're getting to a point where a lot of that stuff has to be looked at, because we want to go to bigger and better places, right? Like Halo wants to get on to the big scene where it's like ages 4 all the way up to 100 are going to be watching. So you got to make sure that kind of stuff is reeled in a little bit. But yeah, a lot of these amateur guys are just so exciting to watch and listen to. I said Vimsy, but Scariotic's one of those guys that's been grinding a ton in twos. We haven't had him on the show yet, but he is an outstanding performer, super, super confident. Bound, we can't talk enough about him. I'm super excited to see what he can do in Infinite. We haven't put him to the test yet. He hasn't been to a LAN. He hasn't been to a major. He hasn't been, a live event is so much different. So he's still very much a question mark. Yeah. I have all the confidence in him in the world, obviously, from what we've witnessed, but he still very much needs to prove himself.
Yeah. I think, there's a lot of really good amateur and younger players out there as well. I think a really big thing that they need to remember and focus on is that the scene is so skinny right now, right? Like it's a shallow pool that you're in. If you were to dive into it head first, you'd break your neck. So So I think that a lot of players in Halo, this just goes with the trash talk that you were talking about. I think that they got to kind of reel it in a little bit and realize that they could be very easily pushed back to, like, they might be a top 50 player right now, and they can be very easily pushed back to a top 100 player, or plus, just by the amount of people that are going to come into the game with Halo Infinite, and having ego and creating these bad, if it does create bad blood. I know trash talk's a really vital part of the game, and I don't think it should go away, but I think that if it's ever at that level where it goes from trash to toxic, or it's like genuinely trying to hurt someone, like the words have got that venom to them, that's a bit too much. Right. Just gotta remember that, like, really, everyone's really big fish in a small pond right now, and as soon as Infinite comes along, that pond becomes an ocean, and
they're gonna be humbled really fast.
Yeah, you could be drowning. So drowning is a fish, and that's not easy to do. So yeah, but I think that's really cool. That was a really cool thing to kind of bring up and talk about, because I've been watching a lot of players, even someone like Envor, or Envor.
Oh man.
Like his team in the last week had absolutely amazing games.
I think he's proved himself now, though. Like, he's been to a LAN, he's placed top 16, he's placed top 12. He's shown that he has the capabilities. Envor is definitely one to look out for, but it's like he's really already proved himself in my eyes. Being able to win some events online, being able to be a top 4 competitor and beating these massive teams consistently. Envor is the real deal.
Yeah, definitely, I agree. I think there's a lot of them in there as well. I love watching like Bound's perspective and a few of these guys as well. So even Druck, I love seeing some of these guys play. They play really fast. And and from all around the world, you know, there's some really good players. You know, Barcode, who's an Australian player as well. If no one's seen his perspective, it's really great to see because he's an absolute laser beam. So a bit of a shout out to him.
Barcode, okay. I'm going to watch some VOD now.
Oh, dude, you definitely should. Like when he's streaming, he's going off, you know, and he's I think it's really he's got really good sportsmanship as well. But he gets very animated and he gets very a part of the game. But I love watching him because he's got his head screwed on when he plays. So a good Australian player. If anyone that's watching this wants somebody to check out. Barcode.
The French too. The French, Legend and Shady.
Yeah,
they have made some waves over there, and a lot of top players are saying that they could actually be a problem when they come over here to the States.
Yeah, so. I mean, I hope so. Let's get it shaken up.
Absolutely. No, I want to see an international team take it. I would love for the world champions to be international. I think that would bring so much to this scene, like CSGO when the Brazilians won the majors. I thought that was outstanding, you know, having a non-European team win at Counter-Strike for the first time. And then when I think Cloud9, an American team, won a major for the first time. It was just huge, you know. It's just massive for the scene. It brings up a lot of narrative, a lot of storyline. Having a #1 Australian team, imagine.
Dude, I imagine that every day, and it's gonna happen, man. Like we've got talent there, so yeah. And you know, I think that I ultimately think that the better teams we can get from other regions, the healthier it's going to be for the entire community as a whole. You know, because you know we've got 27 million people in Australia, right? And right now there's probably 10,000 people not even playing Halo. Right? Because the population's so low. Halo Infinite comes out, they see these huge streams playing with, you know, on like the competitions on Twitch, or you know, that maybe it's being broadcasted in a few different places. And they see an Australian team there doing well. That's going to get these kids fired up to want to play the game more. You know, and I think that's the same thing. If you've got French guys that are coming over, you know, you've got some of the guys from the UK, everyone just really performing up against the American guys that everyone knows so well. It means that those regions, first of all, if those regions get more attention, there's more reason for endorsement, more money goes into it. If more money goes into those regions, then more players go to it. And I just think that it's really healthy. So I really do hope that there's that shake up. And I love what, you know, Europa Halo's been doing. I love what the guys at like Lunchy and the guys at Australian Halo have been doing as well. Even the social comps like GT Halo does here in Toronto. All those things are starting to get people a little bit fired up, which is awesome. But I try not to take longer than an hour, and we're kind of coming up on that. I've got a few things I want to ask more about myself as well. So I wanted to know is like, what's going on for you at the moment, content creation wise? Do you stream to Twitch? Have you got your own YouTube? Is there a place that people can kind of find you, and what type of content are you putting out?
Honestly, all of my creative juices have been going into LVT Productions, and a lot of one-off shows I've been doing. I've been doing spectator mode for Rogue Company. Personally, I really need to listen to my own advice and start pumping out some stuff onto YouTube and maybe fire up the stream every now and then. I really do miss it though. It's one of those things that like I just don't do enough.
Yeah. But hey, look, if you ever need that motivation, man, that's what I'm here for. I do it every day. I motivate myself to do it. I try and get some of the other guys doing it. And if you ever want someone to just create the content with, man, you can always reach out to me. You know, we're doing it right now. You can have, I'll send you a copy of this video and you can cut it up, and any of your quotes you can put out there, and boom, there's content for you.
There it is.
Yeah. So, okay, cool. So I'm going to put a link to all of your stuff down below, so that people want to check you out. They can check back in a week or two, and there might be some fresh stuff in there. But I will put a link to all of the LVT stuff in there as well, so you can see you like in the spotlight, giving it your best, and doing what you do really well. So that'll be good for people to see.
Yeah, there's a ton of videos up on YouTube. Make sure to go to LVT Productions. They have just amazing matches, and we've cut them up real nice and, you know, organized for everybody to watch. It's a treat. So make sure you check that out.
Awesome. The links will all be in the description for everyone to check out. So for you, kind of between now and Infinite, have you got a plan, or like is it just really focusing still on that LVT stuff between now and then, do you think?
Yeah, right now it really is about just growing as a company, making sure that we're getting our name out there as much as possible. Also, on my side, I've also got a lot of freelance stuff I've been working on. A lot of stuff coming up with Skillshot Media, doing some extra work on the side with Europa as well. After my vacation, I'll be helping out Europa. So, I'll be casting a lot of different events. I'd love to cast a Australian event sometime. I know that I'll probably have to be up at like 7 a.m., but it's worth it. I'm totally cool with that. So yeah, I like to get my, spread myself out there, get as much reps in as possible, make sure to keep myself ready and keep that muscle strong for when Infinite's out, so that I can just hit the ground running for whatever I do, whether it be interviewing, hosting, spectating. I'm a huge lover of spectating. I don't think too many people realize that. Like I was the observer for Call of Duty for a long time with MLG, and I also was working with them on Halo 5 in New Orleans and at DreamHack Atlanta. I was also the lead observer at South by Southwest in Austin. And that was one of the best moments of my life, was realizing that I had full control of the switching, and I could tell the story about that event from every single match. Every single thing that you saw was what I was deciding. And that was just something that I don't know. I can't ever replace that. It was one of the best memories. So I really have a lot of different hats in the scene. And so I'm just taking it as much as I can, just enjoying it. I'm getting into Overwatch now. A lot of like community events that have been ran for Overwatch. I've been into Rocket League. I love doing Rocket League. So that's I think my biggest passion is being that in-game director and switching the cameras. I think that's one of the just most fun things about esports, is observing.
Yeah, cool. I think there's a talent to it as well, and knowing who to go to, who's in the right position to make a play. Yeah. Someone's picking up power weapons, who's in the right timing for a power up or any of that type of stuff. So yeah, that's definitely a really good point. I like a question that I like to ask for everybody as we kind of wrap up is, if you had to think about you 5 years from now, what's the dream reality look like? Is this something where you're doing even more of the LVT stuff? Have you got something that's more individual for yourself? Do you want to be casting like more and more events? What's the do you want to be healthier? Do you want to have kids? Do you want to, what's the dream 5 years from now for you?
Well, absolutely healthier. I've already started on that path. I've been playing a lot more outside sports. Like I've been playing disc golf a lot. I love disc golf. Huge fan of that. Been playing a little cornhole with my neighbor over and over in his yard. We just get together and throw the bags, and we get real competitive with each other. So just getting a lot more active, because being a gamer, you just don't move enough. It's just something that we're missing is getting that regular workout, getting that fresh air, and there's just nothing like it. So making that more of a lifestyle change for myself, not so much like regular exercise, but just activity, just doing more with my body, making sure that I'm having fun doing it. I'm a big fan of dancing. Like I want to get into like dance classes, maybe learn some hip hop moves. I don't know, do whatever. So health is always going to be main priority for me. But as far as long-term, like where I see myself, obviously I want my company to grow. I want LVT and the team to do much better and bigger things, whatever that may be, really. I want to be involved with Halo no matter what. Like I'm 100% committed to Halo. I want to be involved in the space and whatever I can do, whether it's helping to produce, whether it's helping being an observer, whether it's being an interviewer, who cares? I just want to be in the scene. It's just something that I love so much, and I couldn't see myself doing anything else.
Yeah, awesome, cool, really good answer. Would you be up for giving one of the Divine Mind workouts a crack?
Divine Mind workout?
Yeah, I ride a workout every single week. It's all body weight. There's absolutely no equipment or anything needed. And I generally tweet it out or I put it up in our Discord, and it's exactly for what you said. It's just a small thing that usually takes anywhere between 10 minutes to 20 minutes.
Okay.
For gamers to be able to do, no matter what your fitness level is, just to be a little bit active. And we've got a lot of guys that are trying to create some content around it and just kind of use it as a way to break up the day from grinding competitive games or putting out content, and just having starting to get an idea of like little things that they can do that get you up and moving a little bit more. You know?
Hey, I'm game. Let's do it.
I'll tweet it at you, and
all right.
Once we've uploaded this to YouTube, I'll give you the link, and I'll post it, and I'll post the workout with it as well, so you can give it a crack.
Let's do it. I'll do it on camera.
Excellent, man. I'd love to hear that. And the last thing that I kind of generally ask everybody as well is to kind of keep the series going and making sure that we're bringing more value from different points. You were obviously tagged in from Jersey, from Europa Halo. Is there someone that you think would be really great for us to have on the show that would bring some value and whose story would be really good for everybody to hear?
Oh, man. I mean, it's just such a mystery. Like right now, our stories have been based around Bound. He's such a mystery. Like I don't think many people know much about his life or what he's about. He's just such a question mark. Nobody really even knows what, like, his name is Adam Gray. That is such it sounds like a fake name. Like that can't be a real name. It's just so he's such a dark horse in the scene. I would love to see like an hour-long interview with him and really hear about what we just talked about, hear about his life and his journey. Cool. And see where he wants to go. I think Bound would be a great one.
Excellent. All right, Bound, I'm going to be in your DMs. I'm going to be hitting you up. I generally say for everyone as well, if you can message him first, just so that he's got someone who he knows.
Sure
thing. A lot of people don't know me yet. And just say, hey, this guy's going to be hitting you up because I threw you under the bus to do an interview. That'd be really appreciated. Before we finish up, though, is there anything else that you want to say, get off your chest, or express to the esports community before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just want to say that I am so happy to see how many people have been getting involved with the content creation. Everybody has been putting in massive amounts of work, whether it's their streams or their videos. Obviously, it's a lot harder to do anything else right now, but the work has been done regardless, and people are really staying to it. So all the people that aren't, I hope that you will in the future, and all the people that are, keep on that grind because it's going to pay off in the long run.
Yeah, 100%. Well, thank you so much for your time, man. It was an absolute pleasure to get to know you a little bit more. One of the things that we're going to endeavor to do is Infinite will come out, and we're going to redo this interview and see where things have traveled in the last 8 months, see what you're up to. And I think it'll just be a really good way to kind of keep track of a lot of people's stories as their careers take off with the birth of Halo Infinite. So I love it. We'll have another chat a little bit further down there. But hey, there's absolutely no reason why we can't stay in contact between now and then as well. So you can always hit me up for anything that you need. Absolutely. It was a pleasure to meet you, Liam, and it was a pleasure to be on your show. Yeah, excellent. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching this episode of the podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. There's going to be links down below for all of KnightysKnight's stuff, as well as all of the LVT productions. So make sure you go check them out. If you haven't been watching any of the stuff that they're doing on Twitch, you've got to go check it out, guys. It's the best stuff that I've ever seen as far as Halo content and watching competitive gameplay. So make sure you guys check it out, and I'll see you guys on the next episode of the podcast.